Welcome back to a special edition of On the Record. Let's turn it now over to Greta Van Susteren and her power panel. Hey, Greta.
Hey, Brett, thank you. And now to four who have run presidential campaigns or been in one. Former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin is at her home in Wasilla, Alaska. And here in Washington, Bob Beckel, Karl Rove, and Joe Trippi. Karl, since you were part of the last administration, there were a couple of swipes tonight about it. Do you take issue with any of the facts as President Obama laid them out? Not political differences. I understand you have those, but how about factual differences?
Well, he brushed over. For the first time ever, he gave credit to the Bush administration for the bank rescue package. This is after he said it was a terrible, nobody wanted it, was like a root canal. The Bush administration lent $240 billion to the banks. The Obama administration lent $7 billion to the bank. That money is now coming back. The American taxpayer is going to get interest and dividend income off of that, as well as return of the principal. What I was struck by, though, Greta, was the tone. It was a slow start. It was a lot about him. He used the word I 96 times, the word me or my 18 times. And I was also struck by the fact that, at times I didn't understand exactly what he was proposing. He said, for example, we're going to open up trade and we're going to do it with Panama, Colombia, and South Korea, but it was unclear what he meant, whether he was really, for example, endorsing the free trade agreements that are pending before the government right now. There was, we're going to have a freeze, but I want a new spending bill for stimulus. There's a lot of internal confusion. Well put together, clearly focus group tested. They wrote it in a hurry. It showed particularly at the beginning, but the tone sometimes struck me as very odd and disconnected.
Joe, how about you? Were you inspired by the speech? Did you think the president inspired the people across the aisle, the Republicans, or the Democrats, or even Americans, so that people want to work on things like health care and the economy?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he really went to the American people. You're not quitters. I'm not going to quit. He didn't give it up. He understands it's going to be tough, and he's going to fight that much harder. I think the most important thing in the speech was how he pivoted, not just on the economy, but against Washington, coming in again as an outsider. That's what got him to the White House. And I think one of the mistakes they've made in the first year was going too much inside game to get the health care, to move health care forward. Instead, tonight he talked about, going against the Washington cynicism, about how people have lost trust in Washington, Wall Street, corporations, and how everybody in Washington has to restore that trust by working together. He's going to run against Washington, I think, in this next year, and I think that's important, particularly on these banking issues. He starts putting bank fees out there, and Republicans vote against them. That's going to be a problem because the people are on the side of going after some of these bank fees, making the fees go forward.
Bob, how much was political in the speech?
Well, a lot of it was political. It was combative. By the way, I like to see the liberals sitting out here in the cold tonight. But I think, look, he sang the song that got him here in the first place. I think for once and finally he's put the Republicans on the mark, and he's going to bring some bills, the Congresses, that the Republicans are going to have to vote on, and they're going to have to take sides now finally. The one advantage the Republicans have had, and this is another a fallout from health care, is they've been able to sit back and criticize everything and do nothing about it. Well, now they're going to have to either join in or they're going to be exposed for not joining in, and I think it's about time Obama took them on.
All right, speaking of cold, we're going to go to Alaska. Governor Palin is up there. Governor Palin, if there's one single word that sort of describes your view of the State of the Union speech, what is it and why?
In a word, lecture. I think that there was quite a bit of lecturing, not leading in that, as opposed to Governor McDonnell's follow-up comments, where quite inspiring, his connection with the people. He absolutely gets it. He understands government's appropriate role. It seemed like our president still has that fundamental disconnect between what the people are expecting with their government and what he wants to deliver.
And Governor Palin, in terms of the speech, do you think that he managed to reach across the aisle, even though you used the word lecture, did he reach across the aisle? I think any Republicans are persuaded, let's try to work together.
Not necessarily, Greta, because the remembrance here has got to be that he and the Democrats, they have been in charge of Washington this last year, so the common sense reforms that he is looking to Republicans to join him on, he could have implemented many of those common sense, as he calls them, reforms all along. Nothing has stopped him from doing that. His mention of offshore drilling, considering that, and new energy plants, and other things that do make a lot of sense, and I appreciate he mentioning those in the speech tonight. Those things things that, again, are common sense. He could have implemented, and I think that was a bit condescending as he spoke, that being received by Republicans who are saying, wait, well, we wanted to do that all along. Where you been?
And you got the last 20 seconds, Bob. I'll give it to you because you're sitting out in the cold. Tomorrow, are the Republicans going to lay him out for this speech or not?
No, I think they're going to give him. I think they're going to say some nice things. Then they're going to turn on him as they've been doing for the last year. And I think what this is going to be is Obama's going to show up at their retreat, and the Republicans are going to be very nice. They're going to applaud him, and they're going to do what they've been doing for a year, try to stop everything he's doing. And I think that's where the battle's going to come down. Quite the opposite from a bipartisanship. I think we're going to see more partisanship.
All right. Thank you, panel. And we're going to throw it right back to Brett Baer here in Washington.